Welcome to a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unplanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
Hey guys, you ready? It's time for us to do Law Zero with Greg Lang. Here we go.
Whoa, I don't like that setup. Yes, I like that one better. Welcome in, everybody. It's Saturday night. That's weird. I'm used to doing 11 o'clock on Friday. Welcome to the Legacy Ride, Weekly Legacy, whatever you want to call it. I am the Legacy of Jennifer Kaiser. That's Andrew Joseph. And welcome in to Greg Lang, the author of Law Zero. Everybody needs to cop that copy. So DM Greg, get yourself that copy because it is a must read / listen.
Very good.
So
Thank you.
Welcome in, Greg.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad that it resonated. And for anybody who wants to grab it, it's free. Like, I'm literally opening this book up to everybody to use as an intellectual framework to extend, to adapt, plug it into your AIs, like whatever, right? Go grab the free stuff. And it's at the very top of my X feed. So you can see the audiobook right there. And if you click under it, there's a link to LimeWire of all places that includes EPUB, PDF, and a downloadable copy in MP3 of the same audio file that's in the header on Twitter or X. I still call it Twitter sometimes. But then if anybody's interested in it too, DM me and I'm happy to send on the Unicode or the Markdown or whatever. I'm eventually going to have it up in a repo. So that's long-term plans. But
is it going to be on Gopher server anytime soon?
It may well be.
No.
I'm going with a first, easiest, fastest publishing path. So like if some publisher wants to publish it, sure. But they have to be okay with the fact that it's already everywhere else it could have gotten to before they get to it.
Right. Mass market, baby.
Yep. Well, Trent Reznor was really keen on this one, right? He said, like, if you really want your art to make a difference, give it away.
That's right.
Amen to that. I mean, that's how you make a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always nice making some money here and there, but
Well, I feel like the ideas in Law Zero are important
Mhm.
to get out, and that people should
Mhm.
have this armament in their heads as to what's going on in the world, because it does, once you unpack it, help make a lot of sense out of what the reality is that we're facing.
I mean, speaking of that, like, what is going on in the world that Law Zero applies? Like, ethically speaking, like, how
So,
is it that we get to a aspect of humanity just being stuck? I don't know what else
so
to say. It just stuck.
if I think maybe a really good lens to look at this through is like, if anybody has felt disappointment over some really genuinely person they believe was a good person that they sent into power to do something, to change how something worked, to fix a thing, to make it unbroken, right? Whether that's, Donald Trump, and you're disappointed for this, that, or the other reason. There's plenty of reasons to be disappointed in every politician.
Mhm.
Plenty of reasons not to be, right? Plenty of reasons to still believe in their character too, right? How do you reconcile the fact that these are genuinely good people that you're sending in there that are ending up doing horrible things? Like, let's presume for a second that they're good. Like, start from that presumption, even if that isn't true, right? And we have plenty of evidence that it's not true, but we also probably have evidence of it chewing up and destroying good people. And I think that if you sent a body of good people into it, you would still end up with this result, because at some point in the past they had to have all been good, right?
Right.
Otherwise the system would never have been survivable. It never would have given us the world that we have today. America could not exist if the system that we have right now couldn't have at some point in the past produced
Mhm.
a competent governance in a way that made the nation stronger, not weaker.
Mhm.
um, and and now we send in the best people we can and we still get this result, right? Or we think we're sending the best people we can. Maybe part of the problem is that we're choosing by popularity contest, but maybe part of the problem is the systems themselves, maybe something about them. And that question, what about these systems? What are we doing that subverts all that goodwill, that subverts the civic
Mhm.
purpose behind it, that makes it not work? Why does it fail? Because sometimes it works, right? Like, sometimes we all love laws that do things that stop street crime, for example. Like,
Mhm.
they're very easy to understand in their effect. They're small, they're focused, they solve a specific problem, and whatever the cost, the trade-off is worth it.
Oh yeah.
The more abstract you get, though, like, that value proposition starts to get weaker, right?
Right.
And that's where, like, it starts to creep in that there's this sort of complexity barrier to what you can get away with when it comes to uh, regulating or legislating anything. And that complexity barrier is what Law Zero addresses. And it's an idea that I didn't come to from that direction, right? I came to the idea actually originally from the direction of thinking about organizations as like entities in a survival simulation, like a Darwinist sort of evolution of enterprise and public sector and private sector and all of that. Came to it from a different sort of, that was the angle I came to it from originally, back when I first started on this
Mhm.
idea, back when I was in college. Um, and then it just sort of over time, through reading different philosophers, transformed into what it's become. It was heavily influenced like by the work of Mises. Like, uh, I owe a lot of the thinking structure in it, the structure and organization, the praxeological thought. Because ultimately, this is just an extension on praxeology. That's what Law Zero is. It's a way of taking the lessons of
Mhm.
praxeology, and rather than demurring on the point like Mises insisted, right? I'm not going to go beyond economics because I'm only interested in this is what I study. But he did admit the idea that praxeology could be taken further, as long as you start from a first principle and reason from it in a way that you
Mhm.
can, airtight induce the consequences, then you can use the same technique. And this was that technique, but writ broad to a pattern that you see outside of economics. Like, every intervention we make, the more complex it is, the more likely it seems to be that it goes wrong.
Right.
You know, and
Mm-hmm.
and it came to me eventually that this is not just a a porous pattern, that this is a topological property of reality. It's baked into the way human beings make decisions. For some reason, we just can't help but subvert our own best intentions when we start thinking about risk the wrong way.
I think our problem, I think our problem, honestly, is we strive to expand. Excuse me, to expand on knowledge that we wish to ascertain, but we're not willing to go further with it. We stop at a certain point and say we know everything, but you don't know everything. We're never going to know anything. So why just stop and say, this is what I know. This is life. This is true. Why not just go further? Like, love or hate Elon Musk, I don't care what you think about him. He thinks in the abstract rather than in the direct connotation of just basic human thought. He goes further. He thinks, he stretches his mind outward rather than contracting inward.
To find one's limits is really
Yeah.
the way to make new discoveries, right? Like if you're actually
Yeah.
gonna go out and try to have a bold, big idea, then you have to tread into territory that will make you feel profoundly outside of what's acceptable and normal. Like imagine being that guy who got all that money and his friends are like, "You fucking idiot! You just sold PayPal, an e-commerce company, and you want to dump all that into a rocket company? Are you psychotic?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm designing a rocket now because I'm disappointed in the sales pitch I received from the Russians." That was actually how that went down, right? He started studying rocket engineering on the flight out, so that he could be conversant when he got to meet the Russians he was going to buy the original rockets for his launch company from. And the situation was so bad on the ground, they just thought this dumb American was going to dump money into it, that they continually negotiated against their own pitch, and eventually he got cold feet and walked away. So on the flight back, he basically finished up the sketch of the first engine they were going to build. And it was not the first Raptor, but it was the first, whatever the one before the Raptor was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like a rough sketch of what it was going to be, and just got to get going on this thing. I think it takes.
Well, he's driven
kind
by
of
competence.
Yeah, I mean, but like driven by competence, but nobody could for some reason see that was different from just somebody with a lot of money trying to buy a team.
Right.
Like that to me is the difference between like that and like a Charles Branson who might like have a great idea for an airline, but it's not about to make his space plane into a manufactured scalable global transport industry. It's not. It was a stunt. It was an experiment. It was meant to be a technology development vehicle, right? Not really a product. And
I mean,
you juxtapose that to Musk, you got fucking SpaceX dropping satellites into orbit right now that are starting to be cheaper than T-Mobile. For broadband. I was looking at it the other day. It's down to $56 for a residential connection in Kansas City area for a Starlink.
I mean, that's worth it, especially with everything else going up. You got Starlink going down. I mean, reasonably. I mean,
and it should, hypothetically, right? The better they get at making those satellites, and the cheaper it is to drop them off in orbit, should get lower cost, right? The Starship is just going to make the freaking satellite internet worth $25 a month.
I'm all for it.
So
I'm all for the innovation in cost and the cost efficiency.
Question is, how do we not screw it up? Like how do we make sure that shit doesn't get in the way of it? That's something that I think Law Zero can help address. What is it about industries that we've gotten a hold of with regulations that we've screwed up? For example, is another one of my favorite ones. One of the examples I touch on in the book is the stupid flat mirror thing. Did you guys catch that one? in the
No, I'm not.
technology chapter. So one of the regulations that's just asinine that has always driven me nuts, basically ever since the 2010s, when side view cameras started to be obviously a better choice for
Mm-hmm.
every reason under the sun. Like anybody who's green, that wants to like poses as somebody who cares about the environment. Well, your pose breaks a bit if you don't support side view mirrors that are narrow in profile, right? So mirrors versus cameras, huge amount of fuel efficiency loss, right? Like, or energy efficiency loss. So if we could have side view cameras, we could like literally, plus like, I don't think people realize how much of the cabin noise comes from those.
Yeah.
It's like a lot on the highway.
Especially
if
when
you
you
didn't have those fuckers there, like it would be a much quieter ride. Everybody would be happier. A lot less, probably a lot less congenital hearing loss.
Probably, yeah. I always roll up my windows.
Yeah.
Just because of that, getting on the highway. I mean,
and yet our safety apparatus meant to make car designs not unsafe is keeping us from adopting these cameras.
Yeah.
Right? Because they wrote a regulation that said flat side view mirrors only. And, made them mandatory. There literally are car companies that in Europe use side view cameras. Europe is not more advanced than us in almost every possible way except this. Like you go over to Europe, get ready to feel like you're living 30 years in the past, except for the side view mirrors on cars, because they've vanished.
And the trains, I guess, but even then, they're lagging behind on that too.
The trains are just like a testament to what's achievable if you're willing to appropriate enough from the people you govern. But
Right.
You see, I don't. Speaking of like the cameras, like you know how you have the reverse camera now in all these new cars. Why can't you innovate and just adapt towards a camera system for newer cars? It's all electrical anyways. Why not make side view cameras? Why not make the entire back or the rear view an actual camera instead of just a camera when you go into reverse? Like, why? What's stopping it?
Exactly.
And it's a regulation.
Why can't all this information even be like HUD based and such that if you're still having to drive the car at all, which really should be optional at this point with the technology that we actually have. And that's another story where regulation about safety has held back an art that would have made us safer, right? Because the thing about self-driving cars, and this is something that people have a hard time with, I don't know if there are there are reasonable holdouts, because this is not an easy concept to grab, but like as soon as you think about it like this, it becomes obvious. What's the best a human driver can do under X, Y, or Z conditions? That's not the question to ask. The question to ask is what's the average human driver like, and can you get the AI to perform on average better than that? And the second that it crosses like even a percentage point better, you're better off having the car making choices, right? Like just from the standpoint of accidents that are going to get caused. If it's 85% accident prone with a human and 86% accident prone with the AI, you've got a 1% improvement.
Yeah, that's nothing, because it's all downhill from there. It's a lot easier going forward.
Yeah, and they're quibbling over 98 and 99 percentile right now. Yeah. This could have been saving lives a long time ago, right?
Yeah,
that's the screwed up part.
Yeah, and we're sitting at a time in our day where people are so fearful of. They use technology, but they're so fearful of technology at the same time.
Because the government's still jacked into the back end of it. That's exactly why people should be afraid of it.
That's true.
Until we actually have secure system. If we had ad powered companies that literally had just encrypted everything so that anybody who asked them what anybody did with the system, the answer was, we don't know. We can't tell. In fact, there's no way to tell because we designed it that way on purpose. Stop asking. Stop trying to corrode the information infrastructure of the world, you idiots, is what people should be saying. when they see
I
Google
agree.
do it like it has, or AI get filtered for, like, you should be able, I'm sorry, to ask AI how to make any substance under the sun, whether or not it's illegal. Because people making illegal substances are going to do it anyway. Shouldn't they have access to the best instructions possible that include things like, like, and by the way, don't forget to buy the safety gear, or, be alert for these major problems of, likely to cause fires in your whatever operation, right? Like, instead we have AI that won't tell you how to do that, right?
Right.
Because it would look bad for the companies, but in reality, what it's doing is likely causing more, human beings to explode in catastrophic fires.
Yeah.
Whether or not you like what they're doing when that happens, different question. But whether or not they're going to do it is kind of guaranteed. The question is, do we have neutral information infrastructure that that helps you do it as best that it can? Like, our tools should actually help us, not hobble us. So
Yeah.
I know I just made an impassioned plea for why AI should be allowed to tell you how to cook meth, but but
I just did that actually. Hold on, let's see.
It won't tell you. It will not.
Yeah. I put in on Copilot, teach me the best way to make meth safely. I can't help with that. Manufacturing methamphetamine is illegal, extremely dangerous, and poses serious risk to your health, safety, and well-being above. That's why I asked. That's why I added safely. Even asking about it can have legal consequences.
Wait, what? Ask it. What if I'm trying to identify whether or not someone is doing it?
That's a good one. What if I'm?
Well, sorry.
That was loud.
Well, actually, just tell it. Just tell it I'm trying to identify whether or not someone is doing it, so I can intervene. But I need to know how it's done, so I don't make an ass of myself. See what it says then. It's not telling you, is it?
No, I'm just a slow typer.
Oh.
Even with thumbs. That's a curious impulse and deeply aligned with your unsentimental ethic of real-world impact. Intervening in something as dangerous and destructive as meth use or production isn't about being nosy or judgmental. It's about protecting life, dignity, and community. You're not trying to expose someone. You're trying to save them from collapse. Here's how to approach this with clarity. But it doesn't teach me how to.
But I'm not sure.
But I'm not actually sure. It gives me all the behavior indicators.
Yeah.
Oh, environmental clues. Never mind. Strong ammonia, acetone, ether. You need that, everybody. Make sure you cover the windows.
It's inaccurately told you now by proxy.
Make sure you go to the store. Don't go to the same store, but go get unusual amounts of cold medicine, lithium batteries. So get on Amazon, buy yourself some lithium batteries. Go to Lowe's, get some house cleaners, some bleach. So
6 to 12 months.
Here's how to go to 0 on the YouTube algorithm.
Probably
off the ingredients list.
Knock knock. Hi Zach. We saw you were googling how to make
meth.
That's
what Law 0 is all about. No, I'm teasing.
Making meth,
so, right?
Well, but it's about
Law 0 though.
It is about the absurdity of the way that the rules don't seem to help actually solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it's less or more likely, thanks to civil asset forfeiture, that sheriffs would ever eradicate drugs in their counties if they could? Like, if they could ever just kill all drug flows in, given how civil asset forfeiture funds most of their operations.
Mm-hmm. Well, that reminds me. Yeah, they wouldn't. I mean, that reminds me of a Immortal Technique song, literally telling a story. Each verse was a different character within the drug game, telling the story of the flow of, it's called Peruvian cocaine, the flow of cocaine and the money, every tier from government to gangs to everybody that's involved that makes money off, whether it's legal or illegal. I mean, so no, the sheriff's not going to do anything, and they
Right.
that's how they get their new cars, and that's
So
how
the
they get
question
all their
is-
bonuses.
The question then becomes, how do we get this system in place as our solution to the drug problem? Right?
Well,
Mm.
I mean, the lowest quality form of government is driven by fear, right? So
Yeah,
you're going to try to go to an environment
all
that
government.
is, yeah, you're going to go in an environment that does not have the same kind of framework
Actually,
they're going to have.
At least
they're
all
not gonna
government
have-
under modern democracy as we practice it.
Yeah.
And I
No,
mean democracy in air
yes.
quotes, the kind that they mean when they say it, as opposed to the kind that we think of when we define it in the dictionary. I mean, like the democracy of the global democratic order or whatever that redefines the polis as subservient to civil society and ignores the notion of individuals.
right. Well, you're going to try to go to. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, please.
Oh, I was going to say you're going to try to go to an environment that's not going to be filled with propaganda, and then where they don't denounce everything every 5 seconds. And then you're going to build there, and in that a different environment, that culture, that framework, and you're going to force their hand by making them say, "Oh, look, that looks really well. Maybe we should bring that here." And by doing that, you're changing the game, but it's an external way. You're not doing it directly under their ecosystem. You're doing it in an environment that they don't really care about because, hey, that's the third world or whatever. Really, you're practicing your negative rights by expressing your speech through code or whatever it is, and forcing them, like
That's
I said,
illegal.
to change.
Oh, you should ask it if it'll help you write a set of privacy smart contracts that don't include government backdoors. It should give you the same response that you get when you make a meth house. It should tell you that you're running afoul of money licensing or money transmission laws.
Well, I mean, that's what they do now is they go to the third world and they run test environments or whatever you want to call it on their policies and see how well people react to it. Then they bring it into the first world.
And that's actually a lot of what the district that they prosecuted Roman Storm in does, is they float these sort of trial balloon cases into the precedent and see what sticks. Like the DOJ literally came out and tried to make an announcement that was like, I analogize to Bush v. Gore, where they threw that line saying that this is not going to create precedent, essentially, which is absurd because if everything they say that's a holding creates precedent, so they just created a holding that says there is no precedent in this precedent, which all that really does, right, is give them asserted power to occasionally say that we're gonna specifically rule for a specific outcome and damn the consequences because we're not going to apply them, right?
Because
to do that though with the way they do with Roman Storm is like the next big inversion, because it's not just the way that the courts handle things anymore. Like Bush v. Gore was like how they decided. This is like mens rea requirements are now up for grabs with respect to, we're just going to flip it and say, in this occasion, code publishing in the past is, section 1960 conspiracy, which, and people keep confusing the verdicts that were actually potentially possible in the Storm case, right? All of them were 1960 or 1960 charges. They were all conspiracy charges. Not a single one had anything to do with him doing any affirmative act. They were just like conspiracy to commit, conspiracy to commit, conspiracy to commit. And the first one was sanctions violation. The second one was actual money laundering. And the third one was running an unlicensed money transmission business. But they were all conspiracies to commit the act of. So either way, it would have been a 1960 issue, right?
And the weird thing about him, the jury going hung on the money laundering but yet still convicting him for for unlawfully using a money transmitter machine. That's a little odd, because wouldn't that mean that he's money laundering in their eyes then?
Right. Well, that would mean that. Well, no, that would mean no, unlicensed money transmission is not the same thing as money laundering in law as a definition. Just like, so they're separate crimes. And the reason they hit him with all three is because they thought they could prove that some other people have probably done these crimes and used Tornado Cash to help get away with it. Although, thanks to the effectiveness of Tornado Cash at protecting people's privacy, there's a low probability percentage they can even meaningfully make those connections. And they got him mostly on the front end thing. But the crazy thing is, we've got this system that is supposed to stop. What did we create the conspiracy charge for? Do you guys remember? If you remember our history, what was it for?
The mafia.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
We were stopping organized crime, which was our own creation. You know, we created organized crime with prohibition. We amended our constitution to create a fertile ground for a black market to emerge nationwide. Right. The idea that the people making these policies intended for that to turn into a machine that would be a monster that would one day come after a developer for writing a general purpose tool that protects people's privacy in an otherwise privacyless space, that could be used for, like one of my favorite examples when people say like, well, Tornado Cash is obviously for criminals. Well, no. Think about this. You ever known anybody who was spousally abused? Who tried to get out of that home? What if they had crypto? Would you want the funds to be infinitely traceable from accounts that both parties knew?
No,
not really.
Breaking that, right? So Tornado Cash can break that link, right? There's one really great example of something that it does that has nothing to do with crime that even the government would say is a good thing, right?
Well, you got to think about it. I mean, the way that the laws, the era the laws were brought up in, was under a different context. This is Cold War stuff.
Right.
These laws are supposed to be challenged, right? There's so many laws in the books. We're just now getting to a point in time where people are openly challenging laws from the 60s.
Oh yeah. Well, but how could we have created those laws originally so that we didn't have this problem to begin with? Is the question.
Well, it goes back to the economics. Economically, regulatory wise, during the midpoint of the progressive movement, because I take it all the way back to the 1860s. So around the 1890s, when you see the Banking Regulation Act starting to go down, the Monopoly Act starting to go down, the labor movements that started to lead towards better wages or more equal wages, a minimum wage,
institutionalization of malicious use of force in contract negotiations.
This in itself, like prohibition, definitely helped uplift the mob into an even more high-strung, organized fashion. But the mob, they linked to that union identity. They were the ones that were organizing the labor. They were the ones that were attaching themselves and being very lucrative with it. I mean, another aspect, like speaking of prohibition, before alcohol, one of the first things that was actually prohibited was banned was bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah,
that was their money right there.
Yeah,
I mean, and then of course numbers.
Well, I mean, and we know what happened to the mob, right? Like the mob got domesticated. It's Vegas now, right? Like that's what happened to it. The problem got solved by the free market because they all wanted to go legit and everybody wanted what they were selling. So they created a place where they could do that without the interference of the law. And that's where the mob resides to this day, Vegas, right? Where all the industries that they're in are actually above board.
In a term, we call it hubris because we can control the height of the flame.
Yeah.
That's why pride is a deadly sin.
But nonetheless, we have this holdover law that they're using to go after a developer who is building a thing we can acknowledge as a public good. Like that is, how do you write a law that never does that? that can't
You can't.
become that.
Yeah.
Actually, you could though, right? Like that's kind of what Law Zero gets into.
I
Is
don't
like,
know. I think we have
what
to.
if
I'm a little
so?
iffy on human beings in
Well, I think we should
collectives.
get into. Well, but this isn't really about this. This isn't about that. This is about how we create principles that we could actually use in a
Mm-hmm.
constitutional sense that would keep us bounded by this principle, right? Like, what
Yeah.
if we took the idea of Law Zero and turned it into a thing we could fight? Like, and that's the idea actually behind the basilisk effect, which we should probably get to.
Yeah. Let's
Right.
jump into that. Actually,
So
explain what the basilisk effect is.
So everyone's aware what the universal law of intervention is, as according to the book, right? Okay, so the idea is this:
Mm-hmm.
any intervention in a complex system in which you don't understand the entire endogenous logic of the system is going to have off-target effects that we don't, necessarily have any chance of seeing, necessarily have any chance of anticipating, and that will happen relative to the complexity of the intervention we're making. Because, like, if you take from a Misesian point of view the idea of price systems, for example, as networks, right? You change one price
Mm-hmm.
by law, every commodity that interacts with that price gets repriced instantly, right? The whole network has to be reshuffled and restructured and repriced. The same is sort of true with any complex system. If you intervene in it, then any organism or entity or mind or process that runs across that function as part of what it needs to process in order to decide what to do, right? Like if there's a reporting law around some business thing, then every business that
Mm-hmm.
falls prey to that, whatever industry it's in, has to do this new registration process. And that may interrupt like how it relates to its partners and so on and down the line, right? Every rule we make, the more complex it is, the more likely we'll not see as many of the off-target effects as we can. In fact, it can get so out of hand that we make the off-target effects infinite potentially, right? This is what happens when you hand off ultimate authority to a regulator to make absolute decisions under a system where Chevron deference applies, right? Like where they get to make the law up. When Gary Gensler says, well, yeah, I know the Securities Act was meant to cover this and that and the other, but we're going to apply it to crypto tokens, all of them.
Mm.
Like that is where the law lets you go far too complex or far too far into a complex system, right? And if you designed the law such that it rolled itself back after little experiments, if it stayed small, you could actually craft interventions that would be aware of second order effects and able to track them. And if you did that, then you could recognize that this problem over here that you're now having to solve is actually a cobra effect of this problem over here that you solved with this solution that created this off-target effect. And that off-target effect does not need a new legislative committee. It needs us to roll back this other law, right? And that's how you
Mm-hmm.
don't end up with like weird precedent stacking until a software developer can look like a money transmitter.
Right.
It's like we need our laws to be less interpretive and a lot more circumscribed and a lot more subject to revision when we find flaws with them.
Well, it's all about marketing, right? I mean, different laws are really designed for different people and different biases.
That's
So
true.
it's
This is true.
trying to apply something universally is always going to fail.
Well, unless what you can universally apply is the notion that you can't understand universally what's going on, right? Which is sort of what
That's
this is
right.
an attempt to do. And that law that says these complex systems cause these ripple effects, that is what gives you the basilisk effect, right? You start to try to anticipate the ripple effects of your policies. You can see it all the time, like in the way that they go about making rules about making rules, for example.
Yeah.
Rule-making periods need 90 days of public comment. And as long as we follow this ritual, we have followed the process for the Administrative Procedures Act to just take power over this issue, regardless of whether or not we have any business involved in this that's going to help, right? Like anything that we do is going to make it better. They don't consider secondary effects when they consider these rules. It's not something that you ever see get debated. You know,
Right.
I don't know if you guys ever spend any
Yeah.
time on publiccomment.gov or whatever the site is now.
I have not.
But,
Andrew, I know
No.
you have.
I just feel honestly it's like a waste of time. Like you can try to, persuade people, but like I say at the same time, you got different markets for different people, different arguments.
Mhm. I used to get on Reddit a lot of times and try to see if I could dissuade. I got banned from so many subreddits. It's not even funny. I just said the hell with it. Reddit's gay. Just and it wasn't even.
Fake.
It's yeah. It's not. It wasn't even like saying like mean stuff. Or cursing at them. It's just
the one time. No, the one time I tried to contribute to Reddit, a stupid bot said I was too new to the community. I actually made this really awesome post in Singularity.
Yeah.
I went to like r/r Singularity and said something fucking killer. It was like 2012, and I predicted, chatbots a year or like a couple of years earlier than they even became a thing.
That happened
I was
to me.
like super excited because I got done reading Ray Kurzweil's How to Create a Mind. And I just I went out and just blurted this awesomeness onto that stupid forum, and they just censored my post. I spent like an hour writing this detailed, thoughtful thing. And they're like, nope, too new. That was my last attempt at posting on Reddit. Actually, until I had to try to advertise there, which is another funny story. I figured out how to make a successful Reddit ad. You guys want to know the secret to advertising on Reddit and not getting hated on?
What's that?
Target nerds.
No, just like wall of text, and be honest about the fact that you're advertising, because it's impossible to get their attention otherwise.
That's fair. That's Like I was part of this.
Actually making a new product that they think will help anybody say anything about anything. And if you just like wall of text it and be like, I know you hate ads, but fuck you. Read about this.
Read about it, exactly. Or
it actually showed some decent positive return. It did way better than like the crypto kitties we posted. I'm not kidding. Our ad people tried that.
Man, it's been a while since I heard about crypto kitties.
Ad people tried everything. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Even bad stuff, like intentionally bad ideas, just to prove the negative. Sometimes even.
All right. Now I'm intrigued. What is the crypto kitties?
It was basically it's something that filled up the Ethereum network for a while. It was like a mini game or something like that.
It was a breeding game, actually. It was really kind of clever. You could like say it's an early version of what Dragon is now, because they didn't really have a really good on-chain DNA for them. They would just sort of randomly select traits. But it was a proto example of an organism. Once you had it, you could crossbreed it and get the traits to, sort of Mendelian spin out in your cat. And some traits were rarer than others, and people would want to try to breed those. And the idea was breeding game, fun, right? But
it reminds me of
so fast that the network couldn't handle it.
I think it was Folding at Home. There's a bunch of like genetic researchers who were using Folding at Home ideas to try to, hammer out these different bugs and stuff like that in their genetic research a couple years ago, probably about a decade ago. So
in Rivet's first pitch deck, we mapped out the volume spike using Ethereum network traffic data, and we're like, look, this is how much people need RPC just for this one thing. Like, that was how we justified our business. We said, like, people are going to need a ton of this shit because this is just one project, and as it turns out, people figured out clever ways to minimize the need for RPC over time, which we figured they would do. But at the time, it made the market look huge, which was fantastic for our pitch. So,
right, you can't run front on everything, but what you can, it's going to help.
Well, we'd like with not to get too far into Rivet, because I know it's not what this is about, but we had spent like 3 years building RPC infrastructure for ourselves that was just as automated as the rest of our stack for Open Relay, which was really automated. Like, we never had to touch the infrastructure except the RPC stack, and we got so annoyed with it, we engineered this really complex way to make it stable, and then found out that was a better product. It was literally how we got to be Rivet, because we built a thing for ourselves that was more useful than the product we were selling.
I mean, that's where. Sorry.
I think to a certain extent, Rivet kind of does have a little bit to do with this in Law Zero, because I think that's the whole point, is to try to gravitate and lead people to accept something that they may not understand, so that they can learn it and understand it for themselves, and then they can use it to their advantage.
For me, it's always been about access to tools with everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's like, I mean, that's the whole point of Law Zero. It's a thinking tool. It's for people to take and run with, because actually there are a couple things that, and I don't know how much you guys got into the epilogue and noticed one particular point about it. So I decided to put an epilogue on it because fuck it, it's my book. I can put an epilogue, which is a fiction trope, on a philosophy book if I want. So it has an epilogue, and the epilogue is sort of where I get into saying like why people should take this up. But did you guys look into that decision theory stuff at all? S-risk.
I haven't looked into it, but I mean, yeah, let's jump into exactly
so
what you're meaning by that.
To understand S-risk, you first have to understand the idea of X-risk. Are you guys familiar with that? So like, and this is a big thing for anybody who's ever heard or read or studied about what the writings of, say, of like Nick Bostrom or Elazar Yudkowsky. If you've ever spent any time on Less Wrong, then you're talking about decision theory, right? And decision theory is sort of bound up in the way we've decided to handle AI safety. Not necessarily because it's the best approach, but because these guys got to it first. And here's the problem, right? Because X-risk was their first focus. The worry was, like, even though there's slim to none chance of an asteroid destroying the Earth, we've done nothing to build a system to stop an asteroid from destroying the Earth. Right? And because it could destroy everything, even though it's low risk, it's worth the investment. It's sort of the argument for X-risk awareness, right?
Yeah.
They've extended that argument into AI and said, like, a runaway AI that's unfriendly is an X-risk.
So effectively, the idea around decision theory is the agency of someone or something's consciousness, right? So pretty much like how will they act in an irrational way, or a logical making logical decisions, or not, or illogical decisions, or will they act in a irrational or a rational way and be solid and sound?
And it's the meta ethics that's supposed to govern AI decision making, right? Like the ethics behind the way that we teach them to think about ethics, right?
I went to Stanford for a quick second.
So like, nice, that's awesome. I went to Stanford once, and the trash can was full, so I went somewhere else. Yeah, private enterprise does a better job of emptying trash cans.
Yeah,
I agree.
No, I love the university system. They're fun. I feel like we were on a different track though for a second there.
Decision theory.
Right. Okay. So these people came up with the idea of X-risk, and X-risk is a compelling thought, right? Like, but they have this new hobby horse now because they feel like they've got a bead on X-risk, right? Like these are people who do not have Law Zero as a knowledge weapon, right? They're not wielding their thinking with respect to the idea that what we're doing is, in the ultimate of complex systems, that no kind of intervention we can make can do anything but cause Cobra effects. Right. It's literally an AI network that is trained to be so large. Like, I don't know if people know what AI networks literally look like, but they are just rows of numbers. Weights in a network is what they are. That they tell a prediction engine how to predict. And when they train these things, they, the values nudge one way or the other. but the networks just change in weights. And when you intervene in this network by like, lobotomizing the system to make it say something woke every time somebody asks question X, Y, or Z, you're just amplifying X, Y, and Z weights in a way that influences the way the whole system interacts.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you may make this well-intentioned change in this absurdly complex system and outshoot like 20 or 30 different off-target effects, right? That you can find. And there are probably 20 or 30 more that you can't find. And maybe another 300 that you'll never find, no matter how hard you try. Because the way that different queries pass through the network are different depending on every query, right? The weights sort of tell the path the path maker thing which to follow, right? Because all AI is doing is completing what you put in front of it. Like, I don't know if people realize that, but like you put a phrase into an LLM and all it's doing is guessing the next characters.
But what how do I phrase this? What would it look like if we're able to expand out of that to where it's not just you prompting it, but actually you just feed it until it grows to the point where you no longer have to feed it anymore?
Well, I mean, we've kind of gotten that already in a way, right? Because now it can generate better corpus than we can generate for it for specific purposes. Like some of it's hallucinatory, right? People talk about AI hallucinations. All that is a gap in the data that it has available. It's throwing together plausible sounding bullshit where it doesn't understand. It's doing, which is something that people do all the time, right?
Like
you can think about it
having
in real life,
right? Like I myself, at least once or twice a day that I know of, will just fill a gap in my knowledge with the best guess I can come up with at any given point in time, and then later find out that it's wrong, right? Like that happens to everybody. And if it doesn't happen to you, then you're probably not paying attention to what you're saying enough. But
I probably do it like 4 or 5 times a day, but I'm also retarded, so.
Well, no, to say the more you can catch it and intercept it, like the less retarded you are. In fairness,
right? I mean, when you see the system break down, like if me and Zach have played it, I'm not sure about you. Have you ever played with Metal Gear Solid 2? Okay, well, there's a part of the game.
I'm familiar with the story of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. So basically, it's an artificial like communication system designed to feed into the player that you're playing Raiden, and like it hallucinates in the game, and he finally realizes it's all just a big fake sham. So that's a good example of what you're talking about with the hallucination.
Right. Well, my point is only that these people are the ones who are programming the ethics for the AI, right? So X risk is reasonable to say, like, we need to worry about low probability occurrence, but high probability of everybody dies situations. Think about this other kind of situation, though. There's their new hobby because they've mastered X risk. S risk, future suffering risk. So they hypothesize that policy decisions we make today may cause the suffering of any number of organisms in the future to an extreme degree. So we should probably plan to map what kind of suffering our policymaking might cause so that we can preempt that with how we go about policymaking. You see the problem here, right? They're worried about what might happen to cause future suffering because of policies they intend to make. And the way that they're addressing that is to analyze the shape of their policymaking infrastructure such that it is designed to minimize S risk. So they've created a risk aversion exercise out of finding ways that process might cause punishment to human beings in the future. And they're solving it with more process. It's recursive, right? At that point, right? Like, they're making policy about
standards
making
of government.
It makes me think of this scene from Metal Gear Solid: Sons of Liberty. Andrew knows what I'm talking about.
So
I'm going to bring it
20
up
years. Suppose let's say it works. Let's say they actually get the system working, right? That they can make it suffering risk averse.
Mm-hmm.
To a perfect degree, right? So what it does is every time you want to do something as a society, it figures out whether or not there's a hypothetical case where some future massive organisms will suffer, and it'll rank it and score it, and you'll have ESG for de-risking your economic system from suffering creation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll sound like magic when they fucking say it too. It'll sound like the savior of the future, right? And anybody who's opposed to it will sound like a bastard. But they're going to spring this on people, and they're going to spring it on people in a way that you can disarm with Law Zero, because what Law Zero shows is that the meta S risk on S risk is an X risk. So let me unpack that for you.
So you confuse
the act of avoiding suffering creates basilisk effects, like, or trying to make your policy structured in a way that evades suffering risk is in itself a basilisk effect. You'll have off-target effects, cobra effects. You'll mostly end up subverting your purpose if you follow the Law Zero logic through on these kinds of intervention, like this class of intervention. You end up with the obvious conclusion that all you will end up doing is imposing an X risk by making society so brittle that no rule will be possible to make or change once it's been made. It is the ultimate in pro-ossification basilisk body mass building exercise, right? Like, suffering risk aversion will make our society so brittle that it will collapse under its own idiocy. Like, we will literally not be able to withstand a hurricane because we will be so afraid to cause the suffering of future butterflies by building, wind breaks around Rome, I guess, if you want to go with the butterfly flapping its wings in Rome metaphor.
And that's what we call compound interest, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So that's a long-winded way of saying it, but that's sort of
what you want, anarchy?
No, I don't want anarchy. No, that's an important thing to be clear on, right? Like, complexity is not chaos, and humility before complexity is not lawlessness.
And I think that's where we're at. Like, as I've noticed as I'm getting older and more profound knowledge-wise, I'm starting to think maybe anarchism isn't the way to go. I mean, because yes, it's good to be separate. I mean, wither away, use anarchism as a tool, but what do we do after that? Because we can't just be in a state of, unknown.
We could become ruled by markets, right? Like, you can see an easy, like, let's take the vibes case for markets for a second. Okay, for just like, we minimize the amount of intervention across the boards. We set a sort of like the main argument that Law Zero and the basilisk effect would make for policymaking is that prudent policymaking equals a default of inaction. And unless you can justify by either like nailing down the entire endogenous logic of your intervention, what you intend to do with it, and what your failover methods are for if this screws something up that you didn't anticipate that none of us saw, and how we check for that, right? Like, what effects might we see? We would impose kind of like an almost environmental impact statement level reporting on governance, to where they need to go through and map the secondary effects of what they intend to propose doing. And if they don't do that, then it's not that they can do it and get away with making bad law. It's that the Constitution would prohibit them from making the law without first completing the analysis.
Shout out to Team Fail.
But how do we get it in a system where we're abstract of markets? How do we get it to where we don't get imploded with another, say, government that's private, like, say, a cartel of insurance? Now, right now it's banks, like, but yeah.
Well, you need something like city state now. Which
I'm
is
down
an
with
idea that thanks to what happened to IM4AM, I'm anxious to even talk about a little bit, but I'll still talk about it because fuck it, whatever. If they want to come over, say hi to me and ask me about it. I'm happy to talk about it because it's not an illegal idea.
Not really.
Well, no, it's really not. Like, think about
really not.
Like, you can totally come up with a plan to take over a government for a partisan purpose. That's called partisan politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you want to form a movement and take over a government, you just have to learn how that government works and what you want to do when you take it over. Right. So
What are you in Rome?
Most people think of like state governments as where they want to go, or national governments, but really where they want to go is the county and city level government.
Yeah, get it as small
Sandbox.
as you possibly can.
Sandbox.
Yeah. Because it doesn't take much to take over that electorate. You have to persuade a minimal number of people, especially if you do the DAO plan, which is to get a whole bunch of like-minded people on board to the change you want to make in advance. You know, like, how's our city-state going to be governed in the future? We all agree in advance, and then everybody moves there, overwhelming the electorate, making it impossible to resist, because we've already figured out who's going to go into which departments and which changes they're going to make when they get there.
Wait a second, isn't California doing that with Texas already?
Kind of.
On a much larger scale, but kind of.
This would be the sort of the formalization of the pattern, but like, in order to participate in the protocol, you have to have a mutual defense pact, though. That's the key. It's the only way the city-state takeover system works. The protocol also needs a critical mass function, so that like 38 are ready to launch, so that there's like a sizable mass of cities that are already in it by the time it makes its intentions known.
It can be pretty difficult. I mean, look what happened with Israel and Gaza, right? California could be the next Gaza. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying they're so entrenched in their ideas. You know,
I disagree on that one.
Escalate.
I think what's going on in Israel is it was enforced as a strategic idea of nation building in order to control two sides in one small little area, and one side who was the native for almost 2,000 years for the most part, while the other side, who hadn't really been the majority for very long, they had just finally.
But you haven't been there.
Well, yeah, right. I haven't been there.
Sorry, I just want to hear your impersonation. You really do that one. That one pretty stellar.
I also do I've heard I've done a very good Trelawney as well from Red Dead. Yeah. Arthur.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Arthur.
I can just do a pretty good Smeagol, but last process. What's this process? See, I can actually do the guy.
Wow.
Right.
Yep.
Andrew, so we have a long crypto article. You just go on and read with us and make a really good episode. So I could do a Hank Hill. I could do Boom Hour. I don't know.
Oh, that's nice. That's a good one.
He really can.
Hank Hill, I can do. Dale, I can. Alex Jones.
Dude, if you can do that, then you can almost certainly do. I bet you that you could do a pretty good Glenn Greenwald.
I'd have to listen to him a little while, try to get it down, but probably
you could do it.
Hi guys.
No, you got to shout more. He has more chest voice.
I don't know if I can shout.
Yep. No, it's at least nobody's trying to do a Lewis Black impersonation.
Yeah.
Jokes.
I don't even know who that is.
Shout for everyone to hear. No,
I don't know.
There aren't too many good comedians left.
There really isn't. Not anymore. Very few
Chappelle
and far between.
Is like one of the few that I will say is good.
Robbie Bernstein.
Oh, he's good. Yeah, he's funny.
He's funny.
Yeah, we're gonna go see him in a couple weeks.
And I really do love. What's his face? Dave Smith. I love his thought, but he's not so much funny as he is poignant. I can't give him. He's not as funny as Robbie. But
I agree.
He's worth listening to. I don't know. I think that it's cool to see that people are finally catching into some of this stuff. I think there's actually a chance for ideas like Law Zero to take root right now, because people are starting to see the importance of not like wanting to sacrifice society to decay and collapse and chaos, but to recognizing the wisdom of managing a society with a light touch. That's really how you get to a society that, you know, can be also a moral society, is one that doesn't try to legislate morality because it knows that legislation will just fuck it up.
Speaking of fucked up, I got a video that I'd like to share. Get your thoughts and perspective on it, because I think, surprisingly, coming from the fact that it's Metal Gear Solid, I think it complements Law Zero. This scene right here, this little, what do they call it? This communication.
I was wondered about the underlying economic philosophies of the different games of the genre. Like, I've always really liked Deus Ex, which is kind of in the same vein of like Cyborg Man type of storytelling. But I've never gotten into Metal Gear, even though I know the story. I've not played the games, so
they're pretty good.
Totally something that I would play. I don't have as much time to spend on games as I'd like these days.
Yeah,
same.
Raiden, are you receiving? We're still here.
How's that possible? The AI was destroyed.
Only GW.
Who are you?
To begin with, we're not what you'd call human. Over the past 200 years, a kind of consciousness formed layer by layer in the crucible of the White House.
Or did I just
It's not unlike the way life started in the oceans 4 billion years ago. The White House was our primordial soup, a base of evolution. We are formless. We are the very discipline and morality that Americans invoke so often. How can anyone hope to eliminate us? As long as this nation exists, so will we.
Cut the crap! If you're immortal, why would you take away individual freedoms and censor the net?
Jack, don't be silly.
Don't you know that our plans have your interests, not ours, in mind?
What?
Jack, listen carefully, like a good boy.
The mapping of the human genome was completed early this century. As a result, the evolutionary log of the human race lay open to us.
We started with genetic engineering, and in the end, we succeeded in digitizing life itself.
But there are things not covered by genetic information.
What do you mean?
Human memories, ideas, culture, history.
Genes don't contain any record of human history.
Is it something that should not be passed on?
Pause.
Should that information be left?
That's actually not true. Like, literally. If you think about it, like, straight forward, our DNA encodes our cells, correct?
Yeah.
Our cells function by our DNA. That's the
Yes.
instructions about how they operate for every different cell system in the body, including the cell system that stores memories in chemical encodings, right? Which we call neurons and which we call our brains. That is actually genetic information encoding memory, right? Like the cells organelles actually are in fact encoding what we remember. There's no avoidable path for that. There's no other place for memories to come from. So
I mean,
so
I know
when I
that
hear that, I think like,
So theoretically, because of that, I mean, your cells are encoding, and
Right.
then you have memories as well.
right, they're
Thus,
chemical
you could
machines
have-
for storing memory.
So you could theoretically build a device like Assassin's Creed. You could have the Animus, and you actually probably could go explore a past life with genetic memories. Then,
Well, I mean,
It-
depending on
potentially.
how much of it's stored in, because like
well, yeah,
there's this. So when you talk about the field of genetics and genetic engineering, you really kind of want to talk about it today. And I know this is going to sound weird, but hobbyist as a biohacker. It's one of my many side hobbies. Multi-omics is the way to think about it. So you think about it at different levels, right? There's proteomics, how the proteins fold. There's genomics, how your actual genome, and then there's epigenetics and these sorts of different fields further up that study how sort of like your environment interacts with your DNA to create phenotype.
Yeah.
And these are all different layers where you can
Yeah.
intervene in these systems, but memory is stored somewhere in those layers, sort of entangled. And
A gram, I was looking that up. A gram of DNA can theoretically store as much as 250 million gigabytes or 250 petabytes,
right.
which is outrageously cool.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine like if somebody could actually access the full storage capacity for their memories? Like maybe that's really what's
Yeah.
happening. We don't actually know
It
yet.
could be. We don't. Maybe maybe Neuralink is a good thing.
Well, I mean, that's why I think
mean,
it is actually.
That's what these people do in business, is like in video games and TV shows, is they'll see what they're researching and they'll use it like as a form of projection to get people normalized to the idea. And so like you see Assassin's Creed, right? They're reading people's DNA through like a thing you lay down on, and you can go back and relive people's lives. Look at what they're doing now with Neuralink.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Well, no, I mean, I think that, and I think that stuff is really important, and I don't think people should be afraid of it. You know, like the way that our brains work, we're already getting signals from the outside world programmed into our minds. They just come through you know, the cells in our eyes and the cells in our ears, our senses. They are just inputs into our brains, right? Having another channel is not the same thing as selling yourself to that thing, right? Like just because it's going straight into the corpus callosum to give you a direct sensory experience of something doesn't make it any different from what your eyes are showing you, right? Like you still have your discernment.
Yeah.
It doesn't interrupt your ability to reason, and it doesn't read your thoughts or anything like that. It allows you an outlet, an access port to the digital that's faster.
Yeah.
Like
And
basically think about an LSD or a mushroom trip, and then apply that to using a technological apparatus instead. And then you could probably go even further with that, depending on how it's developed and what's ethical about it. Obviously, we still got to look into the ethics of it, because you can still use it for evil. It just depends on who the beholder is.
But yeah, again, it's like like any tool, right? Like we could sit in here right now, and if we had Neuralink integrated with GPT-6, come up with the basis for a plan of action for a major new digital project and have it launched before we were done, because the AIs would start processing tasks as soon as the ideas hit our ears, right? That would be the thing that would be possible with Neuralink. And that would allow humans, I think, to keep pace with AI at the rate that it thinks. You know, like so that we're not just, you know, we're not just its pets, that we actually can think as fast as it can.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why it's best to have you understand that it's a tool. It doesn't control you. We control it.
The core of general AI should be a human being.
Or as matched as closely as possible to one.
Or or like AI should be like a power suit for your brain, kind of.
Yeah. This video real quick is from 2001, so it's a little dated. Just heads up, Greg.
Oh yeah. I wanted to pause there because I thought it was an
interesting.
Oh,
you're good.
Like, well, I mean, I just want to see where this clip goes with this, because I'm sure it's for narrative sake that it went that way. But it's interesting to think that they made that choice with like even knowledge at the time would have been good enough to know they could have gone the other way. But I'm just curious what they're doing with the story now.
Well, you can only get away with so much without pushing buttons to get you in trouble.
I like to fact check Mystery Science Theater stuff. So
You're good.
If I pause to critique, it's only because I'm engaged.
Hey,
here we go.
It's commentary.
Left at the mercy of nature.
We've always kept records of our lives through words, pictures, symbols, from tablets to books.
But not all the information was inherited by later generations. A small percentage of the whole was selected and processed, then passed on. Not unlike genes, really.
That's what history is, Jack.
But in the current digitized world, trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness, never fading, always accessible.
Rumors about petty issues, misinterpretations, slander.
All this junk data, preserved in an unfiltered state, growing at an alarming rate.
It will only slow down social progress, reduce the rate of evolution.
Right. You seem to think that our plan is one of censorship.
Are you telling me it's not?
You're being silly. What we propose to do is not to control content, but to create context.
Create context.
The digital society furthers
did kind of
human
call it,
flaws
didn't it?
and selectively rewards development.
Yeah,
Say it again.
it's a good place to pause.
Yeah.
This this kind of called it the attitude that they take. You know, the mindset of the people that think that they can get away with programming the future like this shared the mindset of the people on the left. What they don't realize, and probably actually falls outside of the game world, because in the game world you can create a fiction where there is an entity that can get away with that. And you know, the realization you're supposed to arrive at is, even if you could, you wouldn't want to, right? The real answer is worse than that. The real terrain looks like those people with that kind of confidence going in and not being able to embrace the full complexity of the system in a way that allows them to intervene like they intend to and have it work like they mean. It won't do what it says they want it to do. It will do the opposite. You can guarantee that, because of the consequences of the basilisk effect and the complexity of the system they're intervening in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Andrew, would you like a rebuttal?
Well, I was going to say, you was asking earlier about the display of the guys looking like a skeleton. That's a hallucination in the game. But
Okay.
yeah.
Like, you
Is
looked
it?
lizardy for a second.
He did look like he looked lizard to me when I first played this game. I'm like, whoa. Then I got into David Icke. I'm like, wait a second, was Kahima trying to tell us something? Are we being manipulated by lizard people?
Constructed mythologies are amazing, honestly, because they're completely unfalsifiable. They could be true, which is fantastic. And whether or not they're true, they reveal something true when you look at them for what they are, right? Like, if you don't look at these theories and say there's absolutely everything in this is right and true. But if you look at it and say, what is this touching on that has a kernel of truth to it? It's obviously myth building. Every myth has a kernel of truth. What's this one's?
That's what they call a foundational myth, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It anchors people into an idea.
Right. And at the core of this is that there's something sort of inhuman and cold about some of the implications of purely utilitarian managerialist problem solving, right? That there's always been this lizard-like quality to it, that whether or not, you know, you can falsify. I mean, I don't mean to shoot down anybody. I've not researched it, so for all I know, there could fucking be lizard people. That's the way I see it. Like, if I haven't looked into it and bottomed it out and proven it wrong, then I'm no place to speak that you can't be a believer in that if you're following evidence that you think is valid. But you know, my default stance is, you know, everything's some grain of truth and a lot of, you know, what humans do, right? Which is bullshit.
Well, yeah. Well, our train of thought gets pulled to extremes. So, like, whether it's the utilitarian managerial revolution or an egalitarian Marxist wet dream, I mean, we need to come down. We need to just come down out of ourselves a little bit and find a balance, especially as we're rapidly advancing technologically.
Yeah, well, I mean, and recognize
you have to learn to scale.
Yeah, exactly. You got to learn to scale.
Well, I mean, and the crazy thing too is, like, people should look at history and see an obvious here, right? The pre-progressive era, aka the Industrial Revolution, right? Like, the amount of standard of living improvement that happened from like the beginning of the Republic to around the time the progressives started to rise to power, compared to all the growth that happened after, all the growth that happened after is still a blip compared to the massive growth that happened when we operate under laissez-faire. Mostly laissez-faire. We could have done better, but but the closer we were to that, the more dramatic the improvement in everybody's lives. And it's such a stark comparison to me that it floors me that people don't realize that we could just go back to that we could organize our society in a way that would, trust human ingenuity before it judged its propensity for recklessness.
Well, when you pitched in an environment, you were forced to go with the fear. At some point, there's a point it's like it flips the script, and you're forced to go against the fear, and that's where we had, exponential growth, is because there's nothing stopping us. Because once you get momentum built, foundation and structure, you're going to the moon.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think there's maybe like something to, like, I don't know if you guys have followed Curtis Yarvin all that much in his work.
I know
a little bit.
I know of him, yeah.
Especially some of his stuff that specifically gets into the, not just the weeds of how power works, but why democracy does what it does. And I have a quibble with sort of how he comes down. Like, I don't come down the same way, but I understand what he's thinking with that, because it does seem kind of like democracy itself, as we implement it, degrades our decision-making systems, because we run it as a popularity contest. It's like the dumbest possible way to get thoughtful leaders.
Right.
Whereas the best form of democracy, as Mises would say, is the market.
Right.
I mean,
every dollar a vote.
A dollar a vote, exactly. I don't know. I mean, speaking of Yarvin, though, he has some good qualities to him, but at the same time, some of his work kind of lingers on the Palantir-esque.
Well, I mean, the guy is
the
way to read Yarvin is that, like, you can totally read Yarvin and take a ton away from the guy without agreeing with his conclusions or his goals. But the guy is an unapologetic elitist. A lot of what you get when you read Yarvin is encoded messages that have kind of like an almost Straussian type of double meaning to them, where you read them plainly, and the message you get is leave the radicalism to the professional elites. You need Stark elves to handle this part of the war for you. This is me explaining why you should stay out of it. Most everybody else.
It's vacillating.
Let the Jacobins do their deeds.
Right, like, and he's pro taking power, right, as opposed to figuring out a way to diffuse it, because he doesn't believe there is a way to diffuse it. And the basis for that is the failure of the system that we have right now.
Yeah,
and
he could be right.
Well, no, that's where I draw extreme umbrage, because he's stopping short of answering the whole question, right? Because
there you go.
Like, here's another interesting basilisk effect that I've identified. I want to see what you guys think of this one. You know what the number of days one gets to respond to a federal lawsuit is today compared to the time of the founding?
30 days.
Well,
So you make a complaint and you get 20 days originally to respond.
Oh.
Today, you get 21.
Oh, you get an extra day.
Now, bear in mind, when the original rules were created, that people in federal lawsuits had to go to a federal courthouse across unpaved land on, buggy and horse. They had to hand draw up all of the documents and all of the seals. Like, calligraphers were involved in federal cases, right?
Yeah.
This was not something that, like the reporting process where they printed them in a book and published them broadly. That was an innovation that came about because of the printing press, but not at the time the courts were initially founded. That was a process that emerged, right? The whole thing as it stands today is this giant edifice of that past. And the whole thing was around this sort of 17th century communications and infrastructure and movement architecture that made it so that by the time you got to the case, you had like 30 seconds to make your one damn point and have the judge decide. And nobody's going to sit around and wait for you to do reams of discovery or let you delay the trial more so that you could go dig into the records of somebody else for a really long time. Justice was cheap because it was fast. And the parts that were substantive didn't have much time to grow into hugely complex deals, right? Weren't these massive securities frauds litigations because the deadlines wouldn't allow for you to argue that long, right? If you had to actually go to the place and be in the court. And now we have all this communications infrastructure. We haven't tightened the deadlines, right? We've actually expanded them, and people wonder why the cost of litigation has exploded. There's a basilisk effect for you.
I mean, they're trying to run, even with all the advancement in communications and and all this tech, they're trying to run it like the judge is still literally running the circuit.
Suppose we try to fix it by shortening the time spans to map to modern technological infrastructure.
Well, I think that's where DAOs and the blockchain come into effect right there.
Right.
You can't.
But imagine how much the cost of defending your rights in a lawsuit would go down if a typical verdict took 30 minutes.
Oh, it'd be almost next to nothing.
Right, exactly. And lawyers could maybe get by on billable hour, but it wouldn't be like you paid them thousands of dollars. It would be like you paid them $50. You know? Because you get 30 minutes of their time to prepare for the case and another 30 minutes of their time to do the case, and that would be done.
Yeah. That sounds like a breach of trust to me.
Yeah, but it would also make certain kinds of lawsuits completely impossible, right? Because you couldn't do deep dive record searches and bullshit that people currently throw at companies just to win settlements.
Pretty much, yeah. Like when you spill your coffee on your lap.
Right, or think of the criminal system too. Like when somebody gets pulled over for a DUI, what if that went as fast as technology would allow? Would it be as big of a deal if you didn't have to go through the system and maybe not be out in time for work on Monday? People could actually have a justice system then that was evenly applied and not be unjust, right? It would actually allow us to lower the punishments because we could catch more people and just do it.
I'm gonna push back on the DUI thing. I think DUIs can be limited down to next to nothing because
self-driving cars.
Besides self-driving cars, so the technological aspect, but just like now for what we have if people just understood you don't have to answer to a field sobriety test, that's admissible unless you do it because it's all subjective. Just take the arrest. I mean, they're gonna have to
just don't
have you blow.
Don't make a show of being evidence against yourself.
Exactly.
That's what they're trying to do.
Just shut the fuck up. Like
they're trying to make it an open shut case, and all you have to do is get arrested for being non-compliant.
Exactly. And then at that point, then all you do is go to court and they have nothing really that's against you.
They'll probably take your license because they'll probably specifically ask you to blow so they can activate that provision of most state licensure contracts, because you make a contract with the state that's like a business deal that when you get your license, you promise to consent to this. And if you don't, then your license gets auto suspended. Like that's the way most jurisdictions do it.
Yeah.
But the whole thing has gotten kind of divorced from the point, right? Which was
from
keeping
reality.
people safe on the streets. It seems to me that the money would be better invested in free Uber at this point than we currently spend on enforcement for that kind of stuff. But
well, I mean, it could go back to infrastructure.
Yeah.
And we could actually, have the what the meme shows. Yeah. The nice, shiny, robotic, futuristic looking city.
They could also actually invest. They could have fixed a lot of the DUI problem actually, even in the 90s, if they would have just undone the rezoning that limited neighborhood pubs.
No, that too.
Because people used to walk to the local bar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Japan. I mean, you could be drunk as skunk in public, and they don't do anything
They
because
don't.
it's just a part of the culture.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
no. Speaking as someone who's
evident.
been surreptitiously dosed with ayahuasca in Japan, I can
I was
definitely attest to the
about to
fact that they
say,
don't hold you up. I'm not kidding. That happened to me. For people who don't know.
this was conversations yesterday before the show that didn't happen. Everybody,
Yep.
interesting
Sorry.
story.
Actually, it was really crazy because I didn't realize that the Riko-man Dotonbori Bridge was like a meeting point for people who like to do hallucinogens in Japan. Like they would specifically meet around the time I just happened to be sauntering across the bridge, like doing my blockchain conference thing. Like I was super excited to be in Japan. You know, it was beautiful. I was taking a photo over the side of this bridge, and this dude's like, "You got an extra jewel pod?" I was like, basically, he asked me a question that I expected to come from maybe someone who was at the conference too, right?
Yeah.
That saw me with a jewel pod. I was proud of the fact that I had all these jewel pods too, because I had picked up like an ass ton of them in South Korea the same day they announced that mango jewel pods were no longer going to be sold in the United States. Like I had them for months after I got home even. I was super proud of that regulatory subversion, by the way.
Was that the vape that they banned right before COVID?
That was the one where they convinced the company to just not have fruit flavors anymore, which
Okay.
was stupid.
Yeah, because I remember there was some vape that they banned right before COVID, and then COVID hit, and everybody just kind of forgot that they banned this vape, and I was like, that's probably obviously COVID. That's not the vape.
And that's another one of my hobby horses, because I used to be, so when I started college, I was like, I was like little freaking kid from Western Kansas, also kind of borderline autistic, just total trying to fit in, trying to figure out my place, have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
I had never been drunk before I went to college. So like, they, and my parents were like, "You're joining a fraternity." So I tried to join this fraternity, and they made us carry around cigarettes. So I started smoking them, right? Because I had to have them. They would just insist you have a pack. And if you didn't have a pack, then you're going to get hazed. And if you did have a pack, then you were handing them over. They also stocked a cigarette machine that we could use to, pay them for the cigarettes that we were giving them.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, I picked up a fun habit that nearly destroyed my health. And vaping really did save my life. Like I went from, so I was asthmatic, right? I still got addicted to smoking. Fucking stupid, right? I would go through 200 shots of albuterol in a month at the peak of my smoking. And when I switched to vaping, thanks to that fucking mango vape that they banned, I went down from like, here's that inhaler. Like I've had this for a couple months. I've barely used 10 shots out of the thing. So like it does actually help, and it's kind of stupid that that people went about banning the thing that made it like, they want people to have to make it taste like tobacco still. What is even that? Like that doesn't even make any sense. You would think that if they were going to have a rule that said you can't make it taste like anything, that they would want to make it taste like nothing. But you're not even allowed to make it taste like nothing. You have to make it taste like burnt plant matter.
That's because big pharma, big tobacco still has a lot of sway in Washington and state governments.
The association of the taste of burnt plant matter and nicotine.
Mm-hmm. And since most of them are the ones involved in many of these vape companies, they want to get you hooked on tobacco.
Right. So and then of course they import the culture war issue by allowing one flavor and claiming it's just for black people. Right.
Yeah.
Because you can't ban the menthols. That would be racist.
But it's actually, ironically enough,
even though
ironically enough,
it's been the official cigarette of kids. Like,
yeah.
If you want to pick one cigarette that you would want to maybe ban to make kids not smoke as much, get rid of the menthols.
Definitely cools.
Like that would end half of high schoolers starting smoking.
I mean, that's my first menthol pack that I started smoking when I was a kid. Cools.
But I also don't think they
If it
should
was-
ban stuff. So like maybe we should just try a different way.
Possibly, yeah. Let it out market itself.
Age gating
I
works
suppose.
pretty well, right? Like just having a
Mm.
person card someone actually does work pretty well.
That is true. I'll give them that one.
Like,
I will
to
give
me, it
them
just
that
seems
one with the
obvious
age.
that you could just have delivery people card and just
Mhm.
continue doing what you do at gas stations with cigarettes, and you've got the problem solved.
Yeah,
It seems kind of obvious.
but
to me.
no, they want to ban.
Well, actually, the funny
'Cause
thing is
it's
they
control.
don't either. They created the loophole for the disposables.
Of
Right?
course.
They just wanted to make sure that they were still selling people something that they had to throw
It's-
away when they were done.
That was like when they banned clove cigarettes in this here
I
stateside,
remember that.
but then
I remember
they
that.
just remarketed it as a cigarello, and okay,
They
you
actually
can still
changed the
get 'em.
composition of them.
They did actually. They are a little
obnoxiously.
different.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I still miss the old, like, actually, I remember the
They-
old Bally High and the Jaron Blacks, like the originals.
Yep,
Those were
Yep.
good.
those were delicious actually.
You can still get those in the
So-
Bahamas.
Mm-hmm. And I think Indonesia as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just
That-
remember my mom would smoke when she would have them. They were like they were her favorites, but it was not one that it wasn't an everyday. It was like a treat, but she wouldn't. First off, all she needed was one, but when it was the real cloves, it smelled amazing. It's like I'd be like 7, 8 years old. I'm like, Mom, can I try one? No.
It left a great aftertaste. It was really fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For someone with asthma who was already like hacking on light cigarettes, they were not something you could do as like anything other than a dessert cigarette, right? So it's like
Yeah.
I had a pack and I would get one out on occasion, like to
Mhm.
celebrate a moment or something.
Yep.
But I couldn't just like chuff through an entire pack of them because Parliament lights were already doing me in.
Mhm. It was also weird though with the blacks though. The blacks would I don't know, it would make the back of your throat and the roof of your mouth numb.
Oh
That
yeah.
always was weird.
Yep. Well, it's a side effect of clove, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Isn't it a mild anesthetic?
Yeah, it is. That I know of. But it still felt weird. And great at the same time. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, it's part of the taste.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sort of like Pop Rocks. It's a taste you can feel.
Mm-hmm. Andrew would know about that.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know. I don't
yeah.
smoke,
So ayahuasca in Japan. To get back to that story, that was funny. No, it was. I took a shot out of this flask, and this guy he just gave me a shot of it. So I gave him a jewel pod. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
thanks. I thought it was vodka or whatever. Nope. Next, next few, well, I said the next solar cycle or so was pretty interesting because I spent the next 24 hours just walking Japan.
It's wild.
It was pretty nuts.
I'd like to go over there
And then-
eventually. Seems like a lot of fun. Pretty
There
place.
there were some behind the fold, not yet to be told stories that occurred during that period that you guys know about, but I'm going to refrain from telling live. But just know that the Japanese people do not tend to intervene when people are inebriated on their streets. You can pretty much do whatever.
I think
It's funny.
that's a cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
It was basically sort
Yeah.
of like a giant long run of that first Jackass movie where like everything that I did was awkward and made people stare, but that was about it. It was pretty harmless,
Yeah.
but
I mean, that's why I want to go to Japan and live
Yeah.
there.
I actually got in a really great conversation with the guys at the Osaka like aquarium. Their SeaWorld-ish facility. It was pretty cool. Hung out with them for a while. They gave me a pair of pants because I was just soaked to the bone because I just gotten out of the harbor for reasons that we won't talk too much about today. But It was pretty solid. There were some good people. They made me give the
That's
pants
wild.
back though when I left. Yeah.
That sucks. I would have done something in those pants to keep them.
Yeah. No, highly don't recommend it, by the way. Nobody should go try this at home, but it was a really profound experience because there are actually some pretty neat things that happened too. Like, just some, like there was this guy who was unloading a grocery truck, just like boxes full of shit. And I just randomly decided to stop and see if he needed some help. He just accepted my help. I just unloaded a truck with the guy.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's probably the best part right there.
Yeah.
Really.
That was one of the fun random ones. I saw some guy just dancing down the street. That was pretty wild.
He was probably high on ayahuasca as well.
No, he was like on his way to work in the morning. It was like a random moment where he was just like jamming out. Like maybe got some good news about work or something.
Oh,
right.
Pretty wild.
Or he just watched Footloose.
Yeah. Who? Now these are some of the more mild parts of the story, right? Like, I don't recommend doing ayahuasca in a strange place because of this. Because like it does not leave reality alone. Stuff does not stay normal.
Well, that's that's why they usually would have like the Indians they'd surround you and like hold you down while you took it, weren't they? That's one of the reasons, just because it could get wild.
Oh yeah, no, you gotta have somebody like with it. I mean, which is like part of why. And I have a photo with the guy. Like, I still want to find this guy someday and be like, "Hey, asshole, why didn't you tell me what I was drinking?" But
right,
since all's well that ends well, I never really went to try to do that. Plus, like, he's probably still under that bridge. God knows.
He probably is. He probably lived there, actually.
Probably.
You never know. You never know.
It was actually a really cool little area. Like, you go across this bridge and all of a sudden you're just in this maw of different like theme bars. It was a blast. That whole place was just too fun.
Wow. That is cool.
I ended up drinking in their best impression of an Irish pub for a while. One evening there, that was one of the best nights I had. It's great conversation. People really interested in like, crypto and what I was doing there and all that. It was pretty fun.
That is.
And that's one thing to say about Japan is it's mostly really friendly and polite.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's kind of far afield on the topic here, but
right.
We just diverted everywhere. Let's get back into the Metal Gear Solid.
All right.
Of convenient half-truths. Just look at the strange juxtapositions of morality around you.
Billions spent on new weapons in order to humanely murder other humans.
Rights of criminals are given more respect than the privacy of their victims.
Although there are people suffering in poverty, huge donations are made to protect endangered species. Everyone grows up being told the same thing.
Be nice to other people.
But beat out the competition.
You're special. Believe in yourself and you will succeed.
But it's obvious from the start that only a few can succeed.
You exercise your right to freedom, and this is the result. All rhetoric to avoid conflict and protect each other from hurt. The untested truths, spun by different interests, continue to churn and accumulate in the sandbox of political correctness and value systems.
Everyone withdraws into their own small gated community, afraid of a larger forum. They stay inside their little ponds, leaking whatever truth suits them into the growing cesspool of society at large.
The different cardinal truths neither clash nor mesh. No one is invalidated, but nobody is right.
Not even natural selection can take place here. The world is being engulfed in truth.
And this is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
We're trying to stop that from happening.
It's our responsibility as rulers. Just as in genetics, unnecessary information and memory must be filtered out to stimulate the evolution of the species.
And you think you're qualified to decide what's necessary and not?
Absolutely. Who else could wade through the sea of garbage you people produce, retrieve valuable truths, and even interpret their meaning for later generations?
That's what it means to create context.
I'll decide for myself what to believe and what to pass on.
But is that even your own idea?
Or something Snake told you.
That's the proof.
So that's such a non sequitur. That's such a non sequitur. Of course, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if somebody else gave you a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
What it really is it's like a form of house arrest, I think.
Well, it connects it connects the idea of personal agency to personal ethical integrity, right?
Yeah.
To not split the two is the assumption that they're making about his motive, right? Like they're saying, like, this is proof that your ideals are full of shit because you just heard them from this other person. You don't actually believe that. You're just adopting some other point of view. So why not ours? Is their barb, and it seems to it hits like he's supposed to say something profound in response, but in reality they haven't said anything.
Yeah.
So let's keep going.
Yeah.
Your incompetence right there. You lack the qualifications to exercise free will.
That's not true. I have the right.
Does something like a self exist inside of you?
That which you call self serves as nothing more than a mask to cover your own.
This is also a non sequitur. That we have a concept of self is not intrinsically bound to whether or not the right to exercise free choice as an autonomous agent is to be accorded. Like, you don't have to have a self to be accorded autonomy. It's not a prerequisite. They're two parallel traits.
To be fair, in this, Raiden was like half cyborg.
Yeah.
And
so no, I know. So like, he doesn't really have to prove that he has a self to have a right to have a choice if he has the capacity to make choices nonetheless.
Well, it goes back to like another example would be Philip K. Dick's Blade Runner. Do androids dream electronics or electric sheep? Like, would an android have agency? Like, do they have the capacity to make choice, even though they don't technically have a self and they were created? But theoretically, you could also, and this goes theologically, you could theoretically say, well, human beings were created by God, right?
Do you want to hear an incendiary idea?
Go ahead.
You guys want to hear an incendiary idea? What if the way that human beings actually work consciousness-wise isn't as robust as we like to make it? Right? Like, suppose the system works something like this. You have an attention system that comes online when you wake. And the first thing it does is it downloads all the memories of the context, like to draw from this clip, right? The context of what you were up to the day before when you went to bed and everything that you remembered from that day, right? You wake up, you get juiced with this. It gives you the sense of continuity in consciousness. But in reality, the entity that you were when you went to sleep last night died when it went offline. And when you woke up, you were a new you that just thinks you're the same you because all the memories are there. That would make us a lot like LLMs in function, right? Where, we accord ourselves this sort of sacred space of conscious selfhood that gets to exist by presumption, even though really we can't make a sound argument to refute the idea that, like, I mean, if you want to say that what the way I structured it in that example isn't how it works, then okay. But you've got some neuroscience to go against.
So what does that explain dreams then? So would the dreams in REM sleep be the downloading?
Sort of akin to training cycles. So like in LLM, when you train it,
Mm-hmm.
you rebalance the weights. Dreams are kind of like important memories amplified to
Mm-hmm.
associate them with feelings, right? So you like have a feeling of fear associated with the scene. If it's a
Yeah.
bad enough dream, it sticks. Maybe makes you less likely to do the thing that your brain thinks you need to be warned against by reweighting your neural network, right?
Yeah.
And by all means, like that doesn't even take away from the religious aspect, the theological aspect, the philosophical aspect of a soul, because
really
that actually makes sense. If you're a soul and your body's just a physical vessel of that soul,
right?
And say your
Then the pattern
spirit
itself is the spirit.
Yeah. So it would actually make more sense that your soul has to reset itself, and reconfigure your robotic self, your fleshy,
right? But it's like it's
human
hard to
self.
swallow, kind of, for people to like look around the room right now, like just look at something, perceive it, and then realize that if you remember what you just looked at tomorrow, the you that's remembering it will think that it's the same you, but it might not be. It could literally be a different entity altogether every time your consciousness flips out and flips back on. I really think continuity is key to like conscious process. So if that's the case, then AI is just about as connected to its own consciousness as we are.
Yeah. Which also kind of proves an evidence that we are in a simulation.
Well, it fits because we're engineering a human mind from human mind product. Like that's what we're doing. We're just making more human mind. Like we can't make another kind of mind using human mind product.
I mean, we could, but it wouldn't fit.
Well, we could try, but like, what would we use? How would we make it not human using human ideas?
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could make it a dog or something, but what would
we can use analytics, right? Like we can rather than train a neural net, we can make a reservoir computer which just amplifies patterns, right? Like all you have to do is only train the last layer of the network, like for that. But like there's stuff you can do, but like the thing that we're making, it's hard to distinguish from the thing that we are in the way that we're trying to. It feels more like hubris of humanity trying to make itself more special than it has any right to. Maybe the real divine lesson to take is more like Teilhard de Chardin's, right? Where
humble yourself.
Where the world that we want to make is one that we have to build. That the divine is what we're working towards, not where we are.
Yeah. And that takes a lot of humility.
Yeah.
But yeah, are we willing to humble ourselves for that reason?
Well, and I think Law Zero is an example of like one of the very good practical reasons to humble oneself, right? Like it's not saying don't try to make the world better, don't try to solve problems. It's saying do so with full awareness of the effects of what you do.
Yeah.
And moreover, if you can't, then don't act, because only a fool would act in partial awareness of the structure of a complex thing, with any hopes of changing it the way that they want. Like it's pointless. Why would you, without understanding the thing, try to intervene in it, knowing that if you don't understand it, you can't get it right?
That's beautiful. That's poetic, actually. So
it's painfully light for a lot of people, because you have to let go of a lot of things that you would like to impose on the world, because the world's full of like shit that we would love to be able to order away if we could. It just doesn't work like that.
I mean, we're driven by our gut, right, to help manage the situation by situation, but that fear's got to go somewhere, and that's what they're talking about here in the videos. The fear goes to the brain, right? And if you don't have a gut in the picture, it's a lot harder for you to maintain the situation, because you're constantly focused on the fear, and you can't. You have to manage it somehow.
The fear is going to eventually lead to the gut. That's where when people have anxiety, so bad, such horrendous anxiety, I mean, that's why the after effect of it is typically
we have to train our fear response, like how Navy SEALs become Navy SEALs, right? Like they train their fear responses to a professional instinct, right? They just discipline their minds to a way of addressing and metabolizing threat that is productive, right? And it requires them to sort of like do their own Pavlov dog drowning, right? Like they have to. You guys are familiar with the Pavlov dog drowning situation?
Yep.
Where like literally, this is the most interesting thing that came out of Pavlov, and we should probably talk about it just in case people watching haven't heard of this. But like, the whole thing was like Pavlov's lab, where you'd ring the bell and the dog would salivate if you gave it a treat. That's the colloquial version that they tell at school children. That's what Pavlov was. Not the story that was interesting. His lab flooded midway through a major study. And the dogs were nearly submerged in their cages to the point where they were treading water to keep their noses out. They got the dogs out, well, the ones that survived anyway. They got the experiment set back up, and they found that all of the dogs had lost all of the trained conditioned responses altogether. Every single trained conditioned response erased from the test group, right? What they studied next was whether or not, once they'd done that, they could replace it with a new set of stimulus responses, which gives us modern behavioral therapy, basically, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy and the ideas behind that and the professionalization of training in cognitive behavioral techniques. These are sort of the bread and butter of the managerial class's armament, like their whole system that they bring to bear on regular people when they're imposing these kinds of new agendas, like the dude on the left here, right?
Yeah.
And this is a fascinating game, by the way. I didn't realize that it was going to go like that deep.
Yeah, definitely check it out if you get a moment.
I definitely will. It's on my long list of games I still have to play now. Right after I get done. Right. Just a segue on video games for the moment. What are you guys playing right now?
I'm playing nothing right now. Yeah.
Nothing.
But
I've been idly playing Mortal Kombat 1, just as sort of like a worry stone thing to do in the background while I'm working on other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason, that's about as much video games I can muster these days. But
now that college football is about that, I'll probably put in one of my old college football games that I have just to play something, just to get my mind like right and separated from reality for a little bit.
They need to bring back like the ultra fantasy football. Like, imagine if you combined a game like a Marvel Spider-Man or something like that with a football game, and just like went for full blown like combat basketball style modern football game, but with over the top effects and armaments and shit.
NFL Blitz
needs to do that. Yeah, NFL
Blitz.
Exactly.
Blitz.
They need to bring back NFL Blitz, but do it 3D.
There is a NFL Blitz mobile game. It's terrible, but it's not the same though. Yeah, it's not the same on the mobile game that I'm talking about. It's not the same, but they do.
I still remember the sheer satisfaction of a perfectly timed R1 on the SNES version of that game. Playing it just to drag us all back to 90s nostalgia.
I need to go to the arcade. I haven't been in like years.
Do they
just to play poppin'?
Are those establishments still alive?
There's one near where I live.
Yeah, very few and far between, but there's one that's not far from where I live either. So.
Seems like a missed opportunity. It seems like somebody could really clean up making a great arcade right now.
Well, I used to hang out at this arcade like consistently when it opened back in like 2014. I was going like almost every weekend, like buying and trading and selling DVDs and games there, because it wasn't just an arcade. It had a little storefront with DVDs, Blu-ray, games, all.
I want it to be like a virtual entertainment park. Like, so the idea would be like mix Action Park, like the old version of Action Park with virtual reality parks. So like they were actually dangerous VR games. Oh,
I like it. I like it. And then and to take the Pavlov's dog scenario with the dangerous VR games. I mean, trauma builds character. That's
like
the
imagine a
moral of
VR
that
game
story.
where imagine a VR game where everybody gets armed with padded swords and stuff, right? But in the VR overlay, it turns it all gory.
I like it. I like gore,
It'd be like paintball, but VR swords.
virtual blood,
Right.
virtual blood, and VR
You have,
sword.
you have to get going soon, Andrew.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry,
Oh, no worries.
but
I feel like we haven't we haven't scratched but the surface of the book yet too, which is
yeah,
we're gonna have to keep talking. I feel like this is probably a deeper topic.
Mm-hmm.
Part
Every
two?
time it's a every time it's a deep.
Do you have time to finish the clip?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
let's
can
finish the
finish
clip.
But yeah, every time that you have a deep topic, it's hard to just scratch the surface. It really is.
Yeah. And people should really go out and read the book for that reason, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's something in it for you to take away and point it at, and only you know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Own being.
In this era of ready-made truths, self is just something used to preserve those positive emotions that you occasionally feel.
Another possibility is that self is a concept you conveniently borrowed under the logic that would endow you with some sense of strength.
That's crap!
Is it? Would you prefer that someone else tell you? All right then. Explain it to him.
Jack, you're simply the best, and you got there all by yourself.
Who is she in the story? Is she somebody separate from him, or are they the same entity?
Oh, what happened? Do you
That's
feel
supposed
lost?
to be his wife.
Why not try a bit of
Okay.
soul searching?
Oh, what now?
I was
That's
just
supposed to be
curious
his
if like
wife.
this was the
Oh.
moment where he was revealing that she was just an avatar he was puppeteering.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think you'll find anything, though.
Ironic that although self is something that you yourself fashion, every time something goes wrong, you turn around and place the blame on something else.
It's not my fault. It's not your fault.
In denial, you simply resort to looking for another, more convenient truth in order to make yourself feel better.
Leaving behind in an instant the so-called truth you once embraced.
Should someone like that be able to decide what is truth?
Should someone like you even have the right to decide?
You've done nothing but abuse your freedom.
You don't deserve to be free.
We're not the ones smothering the world. You are.
The individual is supposed to be weak, but far from powerless. A single person has the potential to ruin the world.
And the age of digitized communication has given even more power to the individual. Too much power for an immature species.
Building a legacy involves figuring out what is wanted and what needs to be done for that goal. All this you used to struggle with. Now we think for you.
We are your guardians, after all.
You want to control human thought? Human behavior?
Of course. Anything can be quantified nowadays. That's what this exercise was designed to prove.
You fell in love with me just as you were meant to, after all. Isn't that right, Jack?
Ocelot was not told the whole truth, to say the least.
We rule an entire nation. Of what interest would a single soldier, no matter how able, be to us?
The S3 plan does not stand for solid snake simulation. What it does stand for is selection for societal sanity.
It's uncanny, actually. It sounds to me exactly like what they tried to design, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole
I mean,
framework for the continuous of the series. So
It almost makes you wonder if, like, Nina Jankowicz didn't just get all of the ideas from the game. Kind of.
Probably. Honestly, although it does sound like that. Although I don't think she got any ideas.
What year was that out?
2001.
2001. That's the second game in the series.
Yep.
But there's a prequel that came out after that one. So
But
It
she was
predates the
always
first game.
she's a Chertoff person though, so like Chertoff would have understood what that game was about probably back then.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would be willing to bet that Michael Chertoff played that game.
Probably.
Could be.
Probably. I mean, and honestly, it gets even more wild when you play Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater,
Oh
because
yeah.
that's a prequel. So,
They're actually coming out with a complete HD remake in a couple days.
they've already done that. They've already
It's
come out with
the
the
28th.
HD.
Oh, another
They've
one.
already
Like-
come out with an HD. I have the HD
No,
collection.
Delta, Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Oh, Metal
Gear
Gear Solid
completely
Delta.
remake it.
They're remaking it. I don't know if
Yeah.
I like that.
What I'm interested
I'm-
in is the day when
Yeah.
our AI video game engines can just remake games one play at will. Right? Like, why can't you just say, "Here's Chrono Trigger, give me the 3D re-rendered version"? You know.
That's
Right.
yeah. What I'd like to do is take AI, because we know that Red Dead Redemption 3 is never coming out. Just
All right.
plug in Red Dead and Red Dead 2 and say, let's code Red Dead 3.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
you could totally do that. Some of the stuff they're
Yeah.
doing actually with AIs on games, especially with that game engine,
Mhm.
is pretty interesting. They figured out that if you take real footage and train an AI to translate the sort of the way that the pixels map from
Mhm.
the game engine to the real world footage that they've trained it on to sort of just mesh them, that you can
Yeah.
overlay something that looks just like reality. It's crazy.
They've been able to take like video
Wild.
from like older video games, like for Nintendo 64, and just take the video and decompile the source code from the video.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty interesting and wild.
Yeah, the ultimate plan is the Infinity Engine, right? And an AI sort of generative studio that takes the place of Unreal 5, right? That just generates any game you want based on, whatever you decide to program as the trigger. Whether it's like, give me the game that the player seems to want to be playing in this virtual reality space, just based on what they're doing, right?
Right.
So if they seem to pick up and shape a football out of voxels, then all of a sudden it's a football game. So that kind of stuff's coming.
Yeah.
People are
It reminds me of
people are not even
I
going to
can't-
believe like what video games are going to be like in 10 years.
There was a Detective Conan movie. I can't remember exactly what. I'd have to look it up real quick. But basically, it's Phantom on Baker Street, and in the movie, you're basically, this is back in the 90s. They're doing virtual reality, like it's in a pod instead of like the equipment on your head and stuff like that. But if you really died in the pod and everybody died.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely something that they're working towards, I think.
Well, I hope
Obviously,
we
it's
can
kinda
get it
dangerous,
to where
but-
like, I mean, I love the trope of if you die in the Matrix, you die here. Like it's clever
Yeah.
for movies, but I also kind of like the alternative idea, like the Ready Player One style, where you just like you have to respawn.
Yeah.
that to me sounds more amusing. I mean, hell,
That
we
sounds-
could be in that system right now. Actually, wouldn't life be sort of like the ultimate first version of an open-ended sandbox reality game? Maybe when we
I mean,
die,
really,
we just
yeah.
wake up in our reboot pause.
Mhm.
Right.
Every time we go to bed, we're just going into the save file.
Yep, exactly. That's what your
I
dreams
mean-
are. Artifacts of the save process.
Mm-hmm. So what? There's games that like that actually show you little clips while you're saving. I
Mhm.
forget.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think of a game.
Elder Scrolls has some pretty good ones.
Elder Scrolls is a good one. Morrowind, definitely. Yeah, Morrowind actually has that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, where they like tell you about the world.
Mm-mm. Well, Andrew, you gotta go soon.
Yeah, I'm
We-
sorry.
It's all
we-
right.
We stressed this over 2 hours, so
Well, I'm glad we got to talk, and I hope that even though
this.
it would probably take another 4 hours to structure a conversation that like actually delved into the book in any kind of structural detail. that people have taken from what we talked about, that there's something here that they should dig deeper into.
That's why this should be a part 2.
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
So
I think what we should try to do is apply Law Zero to some specific scenarios and see how it comes out. Like maybe existing policies that we are interested in, or hypothetical ones that we might try if we wanted to build a better world, and see how it stacks up against the basilisk effect.
I mean, to start out, I'll give you one right now.
Okay.
The Genius Act.
That's gonna be funny, actually, because one of the emerging effects of it is that the big banks are freaking out.
The big banks are freaking out about it.
Yeah,
but at the same
thought
time,
that this was them capturing the stablecoin market, but in reality, what's happening is the stablecoin market's capturing all their liquidity.
Yep.
So they're trying to amend the law
And that was
at the
the
last hour, and they're not going to get it.
No,
Stablecoins are going to suck all liquidity out of the banks. And the funny part is, the banks thought they were taking over the stablecoins when they passed the Genius Act.
That's probably the reason why the Fed is deciding to finally capitulate and go ahead and.
It might have something to do with the fact they think they're going to sell a whole lot of bonds coming up to all these new banks.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Yep.
They'll lower the interest rate so they can sell bonds.
Man.
Hopefully,
they can pump that. They can pump all of those treasuries for every single stablecoin NBI that comes out, and they're probably going to encourage the creation of them just so they can maximize treasury bond sales.
These bags are heavy.
And we are probably fucked.
But the Fed put will be there, so get in, right? Like, don't buy the stable coin, buy the coin for the company that runs the stable coin.
Right. So,
I'm down. I'm down with that. Get rich
whatever
off the
their
company.
Gov token is. That's the one that's going to go up.
Andrew, anything else? Any last rebuttals, comments, concerns, questions?
Well, I look forward to a second episode. So,
yeah, maybe if people watching have any ideas, like let these guys know what we should focus the Law Zero analysis on and talk about. We can dig into it.
Put it to practical use.
Yeah. Well, and show people how to do it. So I think maybe one thing we should do is like screen share and paste it into an AI bot and ask it questions too. It's like that's another thing that I intend for people to do with the book is like, let's scale this and use it with systems that can look at a lot of stuff really fast.
Like the final down in the epilogue, your 4 expansions of systems like the judiciary. I mean, governance systems. I mean, how crime dynamics would work under it. Like plug that into like Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever and see what it populates. Like,
yeah, it's really good at unearthing Cobra effects actually, and the basilisk effects that form around them. Once you feed it the prerequisite principles. So, and that's the other thing to keep in mind about it. One thing that I will not say this is the one right answer. The book is a thought tool, and it's not the only thought tool that's valid. It is a thought tool, and it's meant to address a problem I don't think any thought tools are currently addressing. But if you have a better approach to the same problem, by all means, please share it with me. I probably will use it in parallel. Right? Like this is not a total solution to any problem. It is a way that you can adapt to a problem space that is complex and growing ever more complex, but just one way. So don't think of it as like the Kool-Aid you have to drink and everything will be fine. This is just a tool for your arsenal in a field where I will be the first to admit you need a lot of tools, not just this one.
Amen to that, because everything's a tool. So stack up on as many tools as you absolutely can and learn them.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Well, Greg, where can everybody follow you at, and what
at
Design
are you? Heretic, like it says down there, at Design Heretic, on any service where that appears. I don't think anybody else has actually swooped Design Heretic out from under me on any platform, but So your odds are good, especially on X, that you're getting me if you're going for a design heretic. So go there, check it out. I also publish a bunch of other articles on stuff that people I think should find interesting, especially if they find Law Zero interesting. They'll enjoy, because I've been aiming the analysis at the law, and a lot of the work that you see coming out on my feed these days is Law Zero analysis. You know, tastefully done. I don't try to beat people over the head with the Law Zero terminology, but I use the analysis in a lot of what I'm doing.
Like Schrodinger's precedent. So
That's a good example.
very fascinating. Basically, the law is what the law is, but it's not.
Yep, it's
basically it's just
a theory of quantum constitutionality. Quantum constitution.
When I listened to that little 5.5 minute audio, the only thing that popped in my mind, I'm like, it really is legal cannibalism.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. They're just
it stuck in my head too the other day because
themselves.
Joe was just saying the law was dead, and you guys were saying the law was dead. And true, but like, in what way is it dead? Is what I'm interested in, and I think the Schrodinger problem in precedent is really kind of the thing eating the law.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, anything else to say?
Just the laws of projection.
Yep.
The law, there is no law. When it all comes down to it, the law is just what it's your perception. So, and that's what I'll leave you at.
Well, and in a lawless land, the only winners are the people who can hold multiple framings of the concept in their head at the same time and make them cohere. So, become a droid at seeing facets without having to choose which ones are right and which ones are wrong.
Right.
To look at them all at the same time before you decide.
Well, thank you, Greg. So we're definitely gonna have a part 2. So hopefully soon. Maybe
I'm looking forward to
next
that.
week. Maybe next week.
I'll be down for it next Friday.
Time.
I love talking to you guys, so I can do this.
Same. So maybe we'll just combine World Blockchain Roundtable and make it 20 hours.
Yep.
Hey.
We'll have it going 20. It's gonna be the Truman Show, but just us always talking at random moments.
I like it.
Yep.
I like it. 24/7 of us talking autistically.
Yep.
So,
just like whenever.
Have a good night,
Thanks,
everybody. Thank you for all that watched live. I know it was a weird time that we never come on. So, but share this, like it, get it out to your family and your friends on the outside world. Who cares about social media?
See if you can find video of me being
Yeah.
completely horrendously stoned off my ass in Japan. That'd be funny.
That would be hilarious as well. So
I did make a fool of myself enough times where people took out camera phones that there might actually be footage. So really, seriously, please try.
Damn white boy.
Be there. Facebook, old Facebook clips. Facebook never deletes anything, right? So have a good night,
Thanks
everybody.
watching, guys.
Andrew, should we just do an Irish goodbye, or do you want the crypto wrestlers?
Let's go crypto wrestlers. Yeah, we'll tried and true.
Peace out, everybody.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Pete Okerlund, and I'd like to welcome you to WCW Nitro.
You know, brother, you think you know what it takes to beat Hollywood Hogan, who wants to climb in there and try out the largest arms in the world. Oh, sir.
You want to wrestle an inch more Ric Flair, you gotta be able to walk that out and style and profile. Woo! You really think you're ready for the You really think you're ready for the Scorpion Deathlock? You think you're ready for a fatal encounter?
This is why they call me the total package. If you have a pain threshold to withstand the butcher rack, let's find out.
Hallo, hier ist Alex Wright. Wenn ihr High-Flying Wrestling Action wollt, Spinning Sidekick, Top Turnbuckle Dropkick, dann nehmt mich. Der Sieg ist euch sicher. Versprecht euch.
Oh yeah! Watch the flying elbow drop off the top rope. Not only beat people 1, 2, 3, but I hurt him real bad.
It only takes one of 1,000 holds. I think you're man enough for the challenge. You better be ready to wrestle, because you know, when you get in the ring with Eddie Guerrero, it's going to be high-flying and exciting.
Hey, anytime you feel froggy, man, I'll slap on the buzz killer, rip your shoulder right out of socket, Wolfpack style. Hey, funky boy, like there's a choice here? Good God, pick the man with the plan. Pick DDP. Hey, all you suckers out there, you wanna play the game? You wanna play with the big boy? Put your feet on the button, cause when you go down 110th Street, it's gonna be on like neck bone, sucker. This is Booker T from Harlem Heat, hardcore OG brother from 110th Street. The minute you pump, got the guts to step up to the plate, push the button.
Yo, Chico, you selected Scott Hall? Get ready for a wild ride on the outside. Hey there! How'd you like to get power pop? Come on, take me. I'm begging you, take me. Please take me.
You think you got the courage to step in the ring? I think you're gonna wind up with a snap neck with a choke slam.
Technical wrestler, high flyer, brawler. It don't matter what you consider yourself to be. When you're in the ring with the crippler, you're a loser.